Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Rachel if you're new. Today I have 7 freezer breakfasts to share with you, and within those I have some gluten-free, dairy-free options. But if you don't eat that way, there's still something here for you. I share with you the regular version as well. Most people's mornings are chaotic, and mine are too. We're busy gardeners and homeschoolers, so let's have some breakfast in our freezer so that they go a little bit smoother. Anyway, enough talking, let's get cooking. We're gonna make baked oatmeal. This is the normal recipe. So I'm just going to substitute the melted butter for a cup of coconut oil, and the cup of milk, I'm gonna do almond milk. And then also for the 1 cup of sugar, you can keep it normal sugar, but I'm going to actually do a cup of honey. So let's get this mixed up. So in my bowl, I have that 1 cup of coconut oil melted and 1 cup of honey. Next, I'm gonna add 6 cups of my oats. And these are just old-fashioned oats. About 2 teaspoons or so of cinnamon. Also, I'm gonna do 4 teaspoons of baking powder. And also 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm gonna give this a stir. Do a little bit of vanilla, or about 2 teaspoons. Next, we're going to add in our 1 cup of almond milk. I'm gonna get a 9x13 pan greased and put this in it. And we'll bake it at 350 for about 45 minutes. Right, and this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. You wanna let it cool completely before you cut it up into squares and bag it up for the freezer. But that's what it looks like. And if you don't want to separate it into squares, you could make a whole dish like this and put it in your freezer too. So we like to take a piece of the baked oatmeal, put a little maple syrup, or you could put honey over it, top it with some berries and some almond milk. That's a yummy breakfast. All right, next we're gonna move on to our breakfast bowls. I've got a variety of different Tupperware dishes that are gonna go in the freezer. We're gonna layer some potatoes, some sausage, some eggs, and salsa. On the ones that I'm not eating, I'm gonna put cheese for the rest of the family, and then the ones that I'll eat, I'll just leave that off. But everything else is dairy-free and gluten-free. So let's get building these. All right, I cooked up some potatoes in my Instant Pot. So these are fully cooked. I'm gonna put these in the base of our breakfast bowls. All right, they're full of potatoes. I put about 1 potato per container. And next I'm gonna top it with some turkey sausage that I cooked up earlier. I scrambled up some eggs, and I'm gonna put that as the next layer. Next, I'm gonna add some of this 505 salsa on top of some of them. This is very spicy, even though it says, oh, that it's medium. It's quite spicy, so I'm gonna leave it off some for the kids. Finally, I'm gonna top most of them with some sharp cheddar cheese that we grated ourselves, except for my two over here. I'm gonna leave that off just to keep it dairy-free. And there's another freezer breakfast done. Now I'm gonna just put the lids on these, put them in the freezer. Now when you're ready to eat them, put them in the fridge the night before so that they can thaw. And what I'm gonna do for my husband, since he'll take these to work, is just put them in his lunchbox with an ice pack the night before, and then when he goes to work in the morning, it'll be thawed. Then you'll just want to pop them in a microwave for a few minutes. Everything is already cooked, so you're basically just warming them through. All right, for our gluten-free, dairy-free breakfast burritos, I'm going to use these tortillas. You can find these at Walmart, or most stores carry these now. Or you can make your own, which I have done before too. Make your own gluten-free tortilla. I've got some turkey sausage that I have cooked up earlier. We're gonna scramble up some eggs. And just because it's gluten-free, dairy-free doesn't mean we need to skimp on flavor. So instead of the cheese and everything, we're gonna saute some peppers and onions with the eggs to give it a little boost. So let's get cooking. Now I'm just gonna cook these until they're soft and tender. Now my pan's pretty big, so I'm just gonna scoop my peppers and onions to the side while I crack in my eggs and scramble them up to cook them. But if you wanted to, you could pull these peppers and onions out and put them in a separate dish while you cook up your scrambled eggs, and then divide the peppers amongst the different burritos when you're rolling them up. Now I'm gonna make 6 burritos, and so I'm just gonna use 6 eggs. First, I'm gonna lay out my tortillas. Right, next I'm gonna put my peppers, onion, and egg mixture, a little bit on each tortilla. Next, I'm gonna add some sausage onto you. Once you get your burritos filled, it's a good idea to warm it up, because these gluten-free tortillas, they like to crack when you wrap them. I just stick them in the microwave for about 20 seconds, and then they're much more pliable, and you can roll them. And then once they're rolled, I wrap each one in plastic wrap, stick them in a Ziploc bag, pop them in your freezer. And then when you want to reheat, you just want to put them in your fridge overnight, and then when you're ready to reheat them, you want to take off the plastic wrap, and you can stick them in your microwave, depending on your microwave, like 30 seconds to a minute. Everything is already fully cooked, but you just want to make sure it's warmed through. I'm going to assemble some sausage, some sharp cheddar cheese, some tortillas, and some scrambled egg burritos. And how I like to freeze these burritos is I like to wrap them in some plastic wrap. Just like that. and then I put them in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. For the next breakfast we're gonna do is chocolate oatmeal cups. I originally got this recipe from Amy Marion. She's here on YouTube as well. So we're gonna start with 4 mashed, very ripe bananas. I have those just in my bowl. Next, I'm gonna add 1 cup of mini chocolate chips. Give that a stir. I also need 2 eggs. Our chickens are finally laying some eggs. I have some pretty ones this time. Now these muffins, they're not really like muffins at all. They are oatmeal cups because they're very dense, but they are delicious. They also don't have any flour in them, which helps make them gluten-free. And then you just use some almond milk or regular milk. Almond milk, obviously, if you're trying to keep it dairy-free, but regular milk if you're not. So we're gonna add in 2 cups of milk. Keeping them regular, but if you're gonna want to make them dairy-free, then just use some almond milk. We're gonna need a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I've never made it with honey, but I wonder if you could, and I try to skimp back on the sugar. I wonder if you could make it with honey. I've never tried though, so let me know if you do. I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 4 cups of oats. I'm using regular old-fashioned oats. And before I get this too stirred, I'm gonna add in 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. All right, in case you missed any of that, that was 4 mashed bananas, 2 eggs, 2 cups of milk, a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 4 cups of oats, and 1 cup of mini chocolate chips. And put it in my lined muffin cups that I have sprayed. So I'm gonna bake it at 350, and I check it to see if it looks done in the middle, like a toothpick comes out clean, or it's not jiggly. They're not gonna rise, so I feel them pretty full. And this recipe makes 24 muffins. Okay, and this is what they look like when they're all done. See, they didn't really rise at all, and they ended up baking for about 25 minutes in my oven. So now I'm gonna pop these out, let them cool completely, take them out of the muffin liners, and put them in a Ziploc bag. Egg bites. These are really easy to change up. You can add different ingredients. Like today, I'm gonna keep it simple and do sausage, peppers, and onions that I have chopped up. And in the ones that I'm gonna make for the kids and my husband, I'm gonna add cheese and use just regular milk in those. And then for mine, I'm gonna omit the cheese and just use some almond milk. I like to use these silicone liners. They make getting the eggs out of these so much easier. So in my bowl, I have 6 eggs, and I'm gonna add somewhere between a 1/2 and 1 cup of milk. And I'm using whole milk today. I'm going to blend this up with my immersion blender. It makes it nice and airy. So 6 eggs and 1 cup of milk filled all 12 of my muffin cups. And then I just sprinkled a little bit of cheddar cheese on top. This is what they look like when they come out of the oven. I ended up baking them at 400 degrees for about 25 minutes, but your oven might vary, so you want to check to make sure they're not jiggly in the middle, and that should show that they're done. For my gluten-free, dairy-free egg bites, I'm using 6 eggs with 1 cup of almond milk, I'm going to blend that up again with my immersion blender, peppers and onions, along with the remaining sausage that I have left. Okay, I'm going to spray my silicone liners. You could saute your peppers and onions in some butter on the stove or in some olive oil or something before you put them in your egg cups if you want them to be a little bit more tender. Alright, and I put peppers in them, and I'm going to go in with some turkey sausage. Next, I'm going to go in with my egg and milk mixture. Again, I'm using almond milk and 6 eggs that I made frothy with my immersion blender. Okay, I'm going to pop these into a 400-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes until they're not jiggly in the middle. Okay, and this is what the gluten-free, dairy-free egg cups look like. You want to make sure you use original almond milk so it doesn't taste like vanilla, so your egg mixture doesn't taste like vanilla. And they do rise, but they also shrink back down to what this looks like. So I'm going to let these cool completely and then bag them up. Our egg sandwiches. So we've got some English muffins, some sausage that I cooked up in the shape of patties, and I fried up some eggs, and then we'll top it with some sharp cheddar cheese.
You want some coffee?
Yeah, that's perfect. Oh my gosh! Did you steal that from me? Yes, you did. Is it good? Is it yummy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put some sharp cheddar cheese. You could do a slice of cheese, but I don't want to open the other block, and this is already shredded, so we're gonna use this, what we have. And there's the sandwich. I'm gonna wrap it up in plastic wrap and stick it in a freezer bag. If your family doesn't like English muffins, you could substitute those for mini croissants. I get these from just a local bakery. My husband and kids really like them. I just cut them and put the eggs on them, how I did with the English muffins, and they adore them. All right, so for the gluten-free, dairy-free breakfast sandwiches, I'm going to make homemade biscuits using this gluten-free flour, all-purpose flour from Walmart. It's just a great value brand. And there's actually a biscuit recipe on the back. Right, there it is, and there's the instructions if you want to screenshot it. So the substitutions that I'm going to make is I'm going to change the 1 stick of butter for coconut oil. Instead of buttermilk, I'm going to use some almond milk with a little bit of either vinegar or lemon juice in that. So I have my flour in here. So I decided to double it. It says that it makes 7 biscuits. I usually get a little more out of them, but I want to make them quite large to make good sized sandwiches. So I have 3.5 cups in here instead of 1 3/4 cup. On the back it calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. I actually omit the sugar because I don't want them to be sweet biscuits, but you can play around with it. If you like the sweet, you could keep it in, but I choose to leave it out. All right, next I'm gonna add 4 teaspoons. Again, that's doubled, so it's usually 2 teaspoons of baking powder. 3, 4. Next, I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna add a full cup of cold coconut oil. You wanna put your coconut oil somewhere cold so it stays solid when you add it to this. And that's the coconut oil that I'm using from Costco. If you have a pastry blender or the pastry cutter, you could totally use that. Right now, I don't have one. I've even used a potato masher, but today I'm just gonna use my hands. So you're looking for it just to get kind of crumbly. You want to have little pockets of this in your mixture so that when it cooks, it melts and it forms flaky biscuits. All right, you can kind of see that there's bits and pieces, some crumbles in there. That's what you're looking for. Next, we're gonna add in 4 eggs. All right, next I'm gonna add my almond milk that's mixed with a little bit of vinegar. And I'm just gonna stir it all in with a fork until the dough comes together. Now you can roll this out, the directions say to about 1/4 inch thick, and then cut it out with a pastry cutter. But sometimes I just don't want to make more of a mess and I just roll them kind of and pat them. But you decide how you want to do it. Because they are homemade and they're rustic, so they're not going to look perfect. But if you want more of a polished look, you could roll them out and cut them out. Next, I'm going to get these on a cookie sheet and bake them in the oven for about 15 minutes. Check them. You could go up to 20 minutes depending on your oven at 400 degrees. Alright, I got them all formed and now I'm going to pop them in the oven. Alright, once your biscuits are cooked, they'll look like this. Now since they're gluten-free, dairy-free, they are quite crumbly biscuits. A little bit easier way to keep your sandwich together is just to take 2 biscuits that are a little bit thinner and make a sandwich out of those. So I'm going to put 2 pieces of my sausage, and then you can do 1 or 2 eggs, whatever you like. It's going to be quite a big sandwich. But that's kind of what it looks like, and that's your gluten-free, dairy-free breakfast sandwich. Now this one was a thicker one that I cut down the middle, so it looks like that. It does work, but I just want to warn you that they could be a little bit crumbly. So again, I'm just going to put some sausage and an egg, and that's what that one looks like. A little bit less bread, a little bit more manageable. So there's 2 ways of doing it. Either taking a thick one and cutting it down the middle, or putting it between 2 biscuits. And you can see that's a lot. It's a lot to eat. I'm gonna get these wrapped and stick them in the freezer. Now that I've gotten these sandwiches done, I'm gonna label my bag. All right, another breakfast down. So for this breakfast freezer meal, we're gonna make French toast. I'm gonna use this Texas toast for the regular ones. Also with just some whole milk, and mix a couple eggs. Oh, and some cinnamon. And that'll be the regular version. And then to make it gluten-free, dairy-free, I find this bread at Costco. It looks like this, it's multi-grain. It's quite yummy. So I'm gonna use that as my base. I'm gonna add cinnamon again, eggs, and then I'm gonna use some unsweetened almond milk in the vanilla. You can use original as well, but the vanilla just adds some vanilla to it. So let's get cooking. Alright, so in my dish I have 4 eggs and 1 cup of milk. I'm going to use an immersion blender to really get it mixed up. And a good amount of cinnamon. You can also change this up. You could add pumpkin to it with pumpkin pie spice if you want to have pumpkin French toast. So you can change up the ingredients really simply. And it makes it kind of frothy too. So over here I have my griddle and I'm going to warm it up to about 350. Alright, once you get your French toast done, the trick to freezing these is you want them to cool completely, because if there's moisture still on them when you put them in the bag, they'll stick together. So I like to put them on a cooling rack and let them cool completely, then put them in a bag, and they shouldn't stick together. You could always layer parchment paper in between the layers, and that way they wouldn't stick either if you don't have time to let them cool completely. So we're moving on to the gluten-free. This has 1 cup of almond milk, 4 eggs, and a good amount of cinnamon. And then I am gonna use the Costco gluten-free bread. I really like to use the immersion blender. I feel like it incorporates the cinnamon a lot better because when you whisk it, it just seems to stay on the top. All right, and here are the gluten-free, dairy-free French toast. I'm gonna let these cool completely before I bag them up. You could cut these in thirds and make them French toast sticks, but make sure you cool them completely before storing them in a freezer bag. Alright, that'll wrap it up for today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this freezer breakfast video, and that I hope that you will try these for yourself, that it gave you motivation, because you can do it. It just takes a little bit of time. So don't forget to subscribe, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye now.